Hello everybody, it is Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and in this video it's time for episode 56 of the question and answer series. Lots of questions and general comments posted this week, or last week rather, for this week's episode. So here we are at the bottom with IPodKid 232. What is your main phone? My main phone is the iPhone 5 in black, as you can see here. I'm just too much into the iOS ecosystem to really go anywhere else. I don't really have any reason to actually go anywhere else as well. So iOS and the iPhone 5 suits me just fine. He also asks, what is your main computer and specs? My main computer is my desktop, which I have right here via Log Me In. So if I open up the specs, you can see what it has. So I have a Core i7-2600K overclocked to 4 GHz. I have 8 gigs of RAM. That is DDR3 at 1600 MHz. For the video card, I have a 7950 courtesy of Sapphire. And I don't remember making any changes, so I don't know what there is to cancel, but whatever. If I go over to my overclocked settings, you can see what those are. And the 7950 can really compare to a GTX 680. So for the money, it's just pretty crazy. So here we are at my hard drive listings. I have a 120 gig Kingston HyperX 3K SSD, a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda hard drive, and a 220 gigabyte Seagate S600 Pro Enterprise Class SSD, and that is pretty much it. Let's see if the Catalyst drivers are finished. Yep, so it's a 7900 series card, of course, and that is it for that. From Matthew McLeod, do you have iOS 7 on your iPad yet? Well, since I rarely use my iPad, like literally maybe once or twice a month for a few minutes, I don't really have any reason to try it on the iPad. I mean, I have it on my MacBook Air through the iOS simulator, so I could try it out there, but it's pretty much the same as the iPhone, so I don't really have any need to try the iPad version on a physical device. From IPodKid 232 again, what do you think of gaming networks? I'm not too sure. I'm not really into the whole networking thing or partnership thing on YouTube because since of my AdSense account problems, I can't really join those anyway, so I just don't have any interest in those. From Jared71, for daily use such as checking Facebook, browsing the web, or texting, which phone would you recommend, the Galaxy S4, HTC One, or the iPhone 5? For the Android side of things, I think the bigger screen on the Galaxy S4 is definitely the way to go, although if the phone is too big to fit in your hands comfortably, then you'll probably want to get the HTC One. Of course, the iPhone 5 is still a good phone for what it is, but on the Windows Phone 8 side of things, I think that the HTC 8X is definitely the way to go over there. From CAFFilter5, do you know if or when the lower price or the lower end Haswell processors are coming, such as the Core i3, Pentium, etc.? I'm going to guess sometime this month, because they've already introduced their enthusiast level processors and most of their mobile ones, so I think that they should be coming out with those, the ones that you've mentioned, sometime this month. He also says, I want to build a Hackintosh and a Mac Pro G5 case. Any idea where to buy one? I live in Norway. Well, I would say that eBay is probably the best place to look. I'm sure a lot of people are shipping these internationally as well. It's not a small package by any means, but you should be able to find one on eBay. I haven't actually looked, but if you don't find one on eBay, then I think you might be out of luck. But that would definitely be a cool little project to give a try. From Team BSE1, Hackintosh Mini with a $500 budget, or a Mac Mini. So here are the Mac Minis. They start at $599, and for what they are and the actual physical size of the unit, it's actually a pretty good machine. If I were to go with the Mac Mini, I would probably get the base quad-core version, which starts at $800, and I think 4 gigs of RAM is probably fine with the 1 terabyte hard drive. You're just going to get integrated HD 4000 graphics, a part of the Ivy Bridge processors. Now, you could go the Hackintosh route. I actually have a playlist where I built a $500 Hackintosh, and in terms of specs, it's on par with the $599 Mac Mini, and the actual case for this Hackintosh project is much bigger than the actual Mac Mini. So it To me, it just depends on if you want to put the time into getting macOS 10 working properly on the Hackintosh, and if you want a much smaller actual physical computer, because this is much smaller than pretty much any PC-based case that you'll find. Hopefully that helps. For macro stuff, the phone that sold cheaper was an original Galaxy S rather than the S2. That was why it was significantly cheaper, and he's referring to the eBay listings that I was looking at last week. And yeah, so that definitely explains why one was much cheaper than the other. From Megan Farr, glad you enjoyed my Rick roll. Anyway, do you speak any other language other than English? If so, what? Nope, English is my only language. And she also asks, do you regret selling Gumball Tech and the Tech Era? I don't care for the Tech Era, really, but I do kind of miss Gumball Tech. That was my first real large site that I've ever created, and that did the best. And ever since I sold it, things have been going downhill. But whatever. Favorite TV shows other than racing? I like The Amazing Race. That's the only real show that I watch. Other than cartoons such as The Simpsons and Family Guy and American Dad and the usual Fox cartoons. Hopefully Fox doesn't send me DMCA reports for mentioning them in a video, because everybody knows that they love the DMCA. But those are pretty much it. From Cool Tiger Dude, have you tried the carrier hacks for iPhones? No, I have not. My philosophy is that the user should not have to go out of their way to get a manual hacked carrier file to make their devices perform better on a certain network. So I just stick with whatever the phone comes with, and I'm pretty much happy with it as well. He also asks, how's life? Life is great right now. Time is just flying by faster than it ever has been before. And he also asks, what cases are you using on your iPhone? A case, rather. Right now I'm using the black Clearback, which I sell over on choicecase.com for just $3, which is crazy cheap. As you can tell, I'm trying to get rid of all the cases that I have. I still have about 175 left, so definitely a ways to go. But I'm using this one because it's very simple. It's a simple looking case and it works really well. It's thin and I just like it a lot. The button nubs on it are also very, very clicky, so that is definitely something that I personally like. From IPodKid 232, what do you think of the Toshiba P850/049 Windows 8 notebook? That is right here, and so the price, at least from this website, is $13.99. You get a 1 terabyte hard drive, last gen Core i7 3630QM, so that's a quad core. Weighs just about 6 pounds. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. You have NVIDIA GeForce GT 630M graphics. And at $1,400, that's a very high price for this. I'm assuming that this is just an odd website that I found this from with a random price, but for this particular notebook, I wouldn't pay more than $750 for it, to be honest. But I mean, the notebook itself, it has good specs. It's just the price that I'm a little bit worried about. I wouldn't pay more than $750 for this, so if you're interested in this and it costs more than that, I would definitely shop around for an alternative laptop, or alternate laptop rather. From Cool Tiger Dude, Gizmodo or Engadget? So Gizmodo is very different compared to Engadget. I mean, Engadget is more towards gadgets and general tech news and reviews and happenings. Gizmodo, I really don't know where to place this website. They have a wide variety of things that they talk about, but I don't know. This just isn't really a site that I'm interested in, because the things that they cover they're just so wide in terms of topics. So I would stick to Engadget, but that's just me. Anyway, from Jordan Farrington, what headset do you use on your PC when you play games such as Call of Duty? Rarely do I play games with headphones. I typically just use my desktop speakers because I really like my speakers, even though they're cheap $20 2.1 Philips speakers, but they sound great, and the subwoofer definitely packs a lot of bass, but I don't use headsets. He also asks, do you prefer Black Ops 2 or Battlefield 3? I've always just sort of been a Call of Duty person, just because it's sort of been around longer and I've just been involved in it longer than Battlefield. The only real Battlefield I've ever played was Battlefield 1942, and other than the single-player campaigns in Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3, that's it. From what I understand, the multiplayer experience in the modern Battlefield games is more strategy than just run and gun, which is what I prefer, so that's pretty much why I avoid Battlefield 3. From Jelly Roll 7, do you often read? If so, what's your favorite book? I don't read too much. I would rather listen to something or watch something because more information could be portrayed in a smaller amount of time in a more interesting way. Some people like reading text. I find it to be boring and unproductive. From LifeTech Australia, are you interested in Google Glass, and how much do you think it will cost for the average consumer? I think they cost, $1,500 right now for developers, so that's obviously not going to work. I would have to say $299 at most, because I don't know if you can use prescription glasses with it, or lenses with it, so that would be a pretty big concern. I didn't look too much into Google Glass. I've heard a lot of things about it, and the company that I intern with actually has a couple pairs of these, so I will definitely get my hands on them within the next couple of weeks to try it out. From Megan Farr, would you say that this is a good first camera, a Panasonic Lumix LZ20 camera, 16 megapixels, 21 times optical zoom, 3-inch LCD on Amazon for whatever this is? It sounds like a good camera. I don't know why I didn't open this up as a tab already, but this isn't too expensive. From what I've read, it seems like a pretty decent camera, so there are just so many choices in the photography field that it's really hard to go wrong with anything out there nowadays. From Cool Tiger Dude, did people used to comment good vid N-word? I'm not going to actually read that out, or people could record it and place it where I didn't actually mention it. So, did people used to comment good vid N-word on your old YouTube channel, or was that someone else? I have no idea. I don't really pay attention to channel comments. And yeah. From Corollo's iHelp 101, how to record your screen from Windows 8 with voice for free. This is where this piece of software comes into play. It's called Open Broadcast Software, or OBS, OBS. And this lets you record your screen on Windows, pretty much any version of Windows. It can also record audio. It can support frame rates of up to 120 frames per second, which is crazy. 100% free. It's open source as well, I believe. And yep, open source. And this is definitely the way to go. So it's mainly used for streaming, but it can also save MPEG-4 videos locally on your hard drive. So that's definitely an option to take a look at. And that concludes this video or episode for this week's question and answer series. It's a bit late where I am, so that's why I'm not as involved as I sometimes am. So next week will be episode 57, and if you happen to have anything that you'd like me to try and answer, go ahead and leave those down below in the comments area. But that's it with this video, so thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you all very soon.